Likkutei Torah, Parshas Matos, page Pevov, first column. It's even where Ois Beis begins on the left column. Okay, the last thing that the Rebbe is explaining that the Churban of the first Beis Hamikdash was because of the three cardinal sins: idolatry, adultery, and murder, and therefore they're only in Golus 70 years because there's 7 times the Sheva Midas Rois, each one composed of 10 and so on. But second Beis Hamikdash Sinas Chinam, that's the root of all evil, and therefore it's still ongoing, the Golus. So he says, so therefore, why? Because Sinas Chinam is opposing to the name of Yudkei Vavkei. That's what he explained. But to understand the severity of this sin of Sinas Chinam, why is Sinas Chinam the actual opposite of Yudkei Vavkei? The Shem Havaya Nikra Shem Shemahava Miyayin Liyesh. What does Yudkei Vavkei mean? Mahava, creator. He created Miyayin Liyesh, Yesh Miyayin. Hine Yadua Kushya, it's known the question. Lama Nikra Savis Miyayin Liyesh. Why is it called Yesh Mi'ayin? Basically, we're saying this world is Yesh, and Hashem is Ayin. Hashem is nothing. Hashem is the real existence. We are nothing. So why is the expression in Chazal, in Torah, Yesh Mi'ayin? It should be Ayin Mi'yesh. Because the level of Ein Sof, not only has no end, he has no beginning either. Therefore, if from this infinite level of infinite, that not only has no end, he doesn't even have a beginning. So in order from that level of godliness to create a finite world, he actually is it can't be in a way of cause and effect. Why? If you take infinite, cut it in half, it's still believable. Cut it another end. So if you're talking about cause and effect, from infinite Hashem to create a finite world, you can't do a normal pattern of ilav cause and effect. There had to be a tremendous symptom from the beginning. That the revelation initially coming from Hashem should only be a slight revelation. That this revelation of finite from Elokus could be that should be the source and the origin of a limited world. He should become Batal Metzias. That's why we had what was called Simsa Marishan. And then you had Hamshachas Va'aras HaKav, the Kav, right, which is the beginning of worlds, because from from real Beligvul to create a finite world is impossible. That's the level of the Yud of Shem Havaya, which is the level of Simsum. Yosh is Cheshach Sisrei places his darkness on the hidden levels, meaning it's all the way up there. It only comes like a dot. What is a Yud? A Yud is a dot. So Yud represents a symptom that it becomes like nothingness. It comes like a lightning is the arrow. The from the Yud becomes a hay. That has a length and a width. That's the level of Seviv Kol Alman, Malik Kol Alman. From the highest levels to the lowest levels, she calls it Nimshach Ach B'chinas Yud. Okay, the Rebbe says like this: in order to create a world, you need to have a massive tzimtzum, which is the concept of the letter Yud, and then you're able to have a broadness, which has a length and a width, which is already a form of limitation, length and width, dimensions. And then he says, L'chein nikra bria yesh mi'ayin. Because therefore creation is called yesh mi'ayin. The Rebbe asked L'chein should be called ayin mi'yesh. Hashem is the real existence and we're nothing. Shemarket is Savas Yesh, because how is Yesh able to exist? Aydei bechinas mashu ayin v'koi choshev lagam mitzvat musei shalamayim bechinas simsim zu. So the Alter Rebbe explains like this. What's the expression Yesh mi'ayin? Because in order for a Yesh Gashmi, physical thing to exist, it has to come from a level of ayin, meaning a level of elokus, which is complete nothingness, compared to the real level of Hashem. In other words, the kav that comes after the tzimtzum, the revelation after the tzimtzum, that has to be nothing compared to the level before the tzimtzum. So therefore it's called yesh mi'ayin, not because ayin means nothing. Ayin means that the level that's the source of creation compared to the level of elokus, which is the infinite level of elokus, is nothing. And that cannot come through like cause and effect. Cause and effect means you make the smaller cause, you have less effect. And the effect becomes the cause, you make less, keeps coming down. With infinite, you can't do that. Because any division of infinite is infinite, because infinite cannot be divided. So what did Hashem have to do? Tzimtzum Arishan, the initial removal of any infinite revelation of Elokus, and then he was able to reveal, relatively speaking, to the level of before Tzimtzum, he was able to reveal a level of source of limitation that eventually was able to create the world.
So the Kav is limited?
Compared to Lifnei Tzimtzum, yeah? Everything is relative.
Everything is relative.
In other words, Kav itself compared to Atzilus is infinite. Just like we learned many times. Atzilus compared to Bria is infinite. Atzilus compared to higher than Atzilus is Asiya. Chassidus in Kabbalah explain, just like there's four worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, there is above that also Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. Okay? Atzilus is the level of Nei Tzimtzum. Then you have Adam Kadmon, the first level of Gilui after the Tzimtzum, Ak as it's called, Adam Kadmon. That level is like the Bria. Nukudim, Briudim, that's the level of Yitzira. And Atzilus is called Asiya Klolis. Of that level, Atzilus is the lowest. Now again, everything is relative. Atzilus compared to Bria is infinite. Atzilus compared to higher than Atzilus is nothing. It's very limited.
And what caused all these?
Hashem's desire, that's why he did it. And he did it, so he created this before anything existed. Hashem wanted to create a world, Nesava Kodesh Baruch Hu. Hashem had a desire, so therefore he made Tzimtzum Arishan, and therefore he made all those levels, and therefore it's called Yesh Mi'ayin, not because, God forbid, Hashem is nothing and we're something. It says in order for the Yesh Gashmi to be a Yesh, it has to come from a level of Elokus that's ayin compared to the real infinite level of God, because that level, Kaviyachal, cannot become a source of world.
Hashem's Kav is the ultimate.
Tachteinim shein tachton lamata himenu. What?
Therefore, in its way to come to this position, he might have created many worlds that he didn't like to become. Or he might have created more worlds that he didn't even know.
There's infinite. It says about the world of Tehu, the Medrash says, Hashem at the beginning was creating worlds and destroying them. This is no good for me, this is no good for me, until he came to... Now obviously, it's like the plumbers, you do the job right the first time. Hashem doesn't make mistakes. Oh, this world, no good. This world, no good. What it means is, Lehanali means it's not what I really want. In other words, I don't want those worlds. It represents the world of Tehu. Now, why did Hashem create Tehu and break Shvir Sekela? Meaning he didn't want it. He wanted the worlds to break up. because he needed those sparks of Kedusha, which are super high, to fall down here super low, and we elevate it, which is the concept of, and because the uniqueness of it is that in a low world, which is completely empty and void of godliness, a Jew does mitzvahs and it creates a realm of godliness. That's a unique new thing, and that's Hashem's enjoyment.
How does it relate to the parasha?
Who says that to relate to the parsha? It does relate, because he's speaking about Madon and Midyan, the fight Midyan, right? Midyan, Madon and Meriva. And therefore it's Menaged to Shem Havai. That's what he's talking about. Okay. Okay. Therefore the Gemara says, like the beginning of the world. The Gemara says, why do goats walk first before the Medrash says, why do goats work? First the goats go and then the sheep go. So he says, because goats are dark compared to sheep. So he says, it's like the creation of the world, Bereisha Chashecha. So it says that the beginning is darkness, V'hodon Naheda. Then was light. How did Hashem create the world? First was Cheshech al Pnei Saheim, and then V'ruach V'yomer Elokim Yehi Or. And that's why, by the way, why is night preceding day in Yiddishkeit? In the secular world, night, and in Hegedish also, by the way, in Kodshim, Beyad Korbanis, the night follows the day. Because you can eat it L'yem V'layla Echad. You can eat the korban for the day and the following night. The Rebbe used to explain why by the Rebbe's did they verbring, like if it was Yutas Kislev, he verbring the night after Yutas Kislev, not the night of Yutas Kislev. Because in Kodshim, in the matters of Kedusha, super holy, the night follows the day. But normally, according to Torah, mitzvahs, it's a question what happened to Matan Torah, was it like that also? The Rashbam, whatever, ganz Maisa with that. But it says in Chumash, Vayera Vayibayker, first was night and then was morning, Yom Echad. Yeah? So first was darkness, Cheshach HaPnei Saheim, and then Hashem said, Yehi Or. Right? Then it became day. So in Avaida is Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Boiker, Yom Echad. So Chassidus explains what does that mean? That there's Avaida with Erev. There's Avaida, Jew has to work with Cheshach. And the Cheshach creates Or. And then it becomes Yom Echad, a Gilui of Echad, of Hashem Echad. That's the whole concept of Torah. The Eibishter made the Yesh, with all these Tzimtzumim. And the purpose of the Yesh is to create that from the Yesh it becomes Gilui. So why is it called first Yesh Mi'ayin? So the Rabbi here is explaining. Other places it's explained because from our perspective it's Yesh and he's Ayin. Right? But here the Rebbe is saying even from the level of Elokus. Why is it called Yesh Mi'ayin? Because that level that creates the Yesh is Ayin compared to the level of the infinite level of Elokus, which is infinitely greater. And then he says, Vinei Simtum is Pash the same Beis Midas Havchim. Concealment and revelation, contraction and creation are two opposites. Right? You can't have Tzimtzum and Gilui at the same time. They're contradictory. Therefore, and what are we saying over here? That the purpose of the Tzimtzum is to create Gilui. So you say, there has to be an intermediary that connects two opposites. A level above both, which is, I'll explain in a second. A revelation from Elokus. To Kula Kameka Chashecha Ka'eda, by him darkness and light is the same thing. Kechashecha v'neheda. Because dark and light is only in a level that's in the world, in the realm of world. But Kaidem Shinivar no Shabchin the same. Okay, so like this. Anytime you have two opposite things and you want to connect them, there has to be a Mamutza Mechaber. There has to be an intermediary that connects, especially if they're two opposites. You have Eisa Shalom B'mreimov, right? There's or Shnei Chsuvim Machishim Zeh, two psukim contradicting one another, and the third pasuk, the number 3, is above the 1 and the 2, and therefore the 3 can connect the 1 and 2. Okay, Hashem makes peace in high. Eisa Shalom B'mreimov, he makes peace on high. What's the peace? So the Medrash says there's a guy called Michal, who's the Malach of Mayim and Chesed, and there's a guy called Gavriel, which is the Malach of fire and Gvura, and they're the two opposites. So Hashem, who's above both, makes peace between them. So the Alter Rebbe explains, in order for a Jew to unite Yesh Me'ayin, because he said, what did we learn before? The purpose of Hashem creating the Yesh is we should make from the Yesh back into Ayin. Right? That's what we learned in many of the Maimon. Hashem made Yesh Me'ayin, and the avoid of the Jew is to make Dira V'Tachtein. In other words, make the Yesh back into Ayin. How can you do that? They're opposites. Yesh and Ayin are opposites. They're more opposites than fire and water, which are both creations, limitations, and so on. Right? Something and nothing is more opposite than two somethings. Because two somethings have something in common that the somethings. But their nature is different. Okay, so you have to, it's also impossible to connect fire and water. But Yesh and Ayin, Ruchni and Gashmias is even more opposite than fire and water. So in order to combine Ruchnius and Gashmias, meaning you take a physical object and you make it holy by doing a mitzvah, in order for the Jew to create from the Yesh back into Ayin, you need to have a gili of a lokus, which is above both. Purim, Matan Torah. That's why in order to connect Havaya, which is infinite, Elokim, Elokecha, is world, creation, you need Anechi to make Havaya Elokecha. You need the essence of Hashem, which is I in both. So he says, because darkness and light is only connected to world. 2 lines in the bottom of the first column. But before Hashem created the world, these levels don't exist. Not darkness, not light, nothing exists. By day, in fact, there's a big controversy in the Mefarshim of Chumash, and in the Torah philosophers. It says like this, at the beginning of creation, it says, V'cheshach ha'panei sahem. Okay? So what does that mean? Was darkness created? Or darkness was? Because simply the pasuk said before Hashem created the world, there was darkness. And then the first thing of creation was Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or. So the question is, that cheshech, was that a creation? Or it wasn't a creation? In other words, the cheshech come before or not? Was it created before or? So again, there's an argument in halacha, is cheshech an entity? Is it just an absence of light? But we say in davening every day, Yetzer Or Uberi Cheshech. So there is a level of darkness which was created, which l'chayra means that the first thing Hashem created was not Or. That means the first thing He created was Cheshech. So there's a whole, basically nobody understands it because we don't know. Did Hashem create Cheshech or was there Cheshech? But if you analyze it, Cheshech is really also creation. Because higher than that, there's light and darkness, the same thing.
With one level of Cheshech?
Okay, so we learned, the Rebbe explains there's 2 levels of Cheshech. There's a Cheshech which is the absence of light, and then you have Cheshech, like by Matos Cheshech, V'yamish Cheshech. Okay. But B'chlal, the concept of Cheshech, is that a creation or not? So seemingly it is the pasuk says Uberi Cheshech. But does that precede light? As somebody that learns Chumash, what was the first thing Hashem made? Or. Yom Elokim Yehi Or is the first thing He made. What?
What about gold or gold? Did Hashem create that too?
The world of Teo and Vaveo is also creation. But it's not a creation like the creation of Gashmistic Or and Rakia, and those were Gashmistic things. The Medrash says that the Or Hashem created on the first day was a Gashmistic Or. Not sunlight. See, by us, light is sunlight.
There is no kosher.
The Shemesh, even if you hold like the opinion that everything Hashem created on the first day, B'nai Baruch Kim, He created everything, and just the various days He put things into place. Because according to that opinion, sun and moon, everything was created on Sunday. Hashem hung it in the sky, and He knocked in the nails, the hook, and He hung the sun in the sky on Wednesday. Okay, all the million of opinions and measures. Yeah, but nevertheless, that or that Hashem created in the first day, the Medrash says, that light, a person was able to look from one end of the world to the next. But that Hashem saw that the world is not worthy for it, so He hid it either in Torah or Tzaddikim, Losad Lavi, whatever, for both basically. But that art is already a Gashmistic art. You are able to see with it.
If there is no kosher, there is no or.
Why?
If it's not dark, there is no light. How could you have a concept of photons or light if there is no darkness? Light where?
Light all over.
But it has to be dark for light to be the light.
No, maybe He created light right away, before the darkness.
What does not what the Pasuk says?
But, he's talking philosophically. He's acting a China.
So what of kosher? That's what I'm talking about.
Let's leave it the way Torah says to leave it. Stop asking questions, because we can't understand it anyway. Even the Psukim are not understood.
The darkness in Egypt was so thick, people could not even...
Correct. That
is a different darkness than...
correct.
Okay, no, unless this door is dark, there is no reason.
In our realm, light and dark are connected.
Right.
But in a realm which is above light and dark, there doesn't have to be dark in order to make light. Hello? In our realm where there's darkness and light, so light and darkness are relative one to the next. Even darkness is a relative word. You can have a little light on in the room, yeah? The room is generally speaking dark, but there is still a little light. Relative to a lot of light, it's dark. But that's all in the Gashmistic world where it's already created. In the realm which is above light and dark, there is no dark and light relative to each other.
So one could have come before the other.
And by revealing this level, which is higher than both, then it's able to bind and connect which is Yud and Hey. They become two inseparable friends, because in Chassidus, in Kabbalah, there's an expression that Chacham and Bina are Terei and Delay Misparshin, inseparable friends. Even though Chacham and Bina are opposites. Chacham is a dat, Bina is an understanding. So they're opposites. Right? Yet nevertheless, because of the Gilui above them, above Yud Kei Vav Kei, so Yud and Kei could be united. Afal Pi Shem Betz Beis Havchin. And therefore Chacham is called Ayin and Bina is called Yesh. Right? You know Chacham is Ayin. Through revealing a level of a course which is above both, they mamish become one. What is this Hamshacha? What is the Hamshacha that can connect the Yud and the Hey? That's the Kreitzer Shel Yud, the crown and the top of the Yud, which is the Maila Bechinas Yud, which is much greater than the Yud. It's like the crown on the letter. By days and mispashim mischaber Yud Behei, like it says in the Pardes. Shayud yesh lo gimel keitzin. The Yud has 3 parts. There's a dot and then this and a lo. 3 parts to the Yud. From the lower level, nimshra hey. And the Kreitzer Tachten has in it the Kreitzer Elyon, so therefore Zashi is Pashiv Yom Shech Yud Behei. How does the Yud come into the Hey? Through the Kreitz of the Yud, the crown of the Yud, is that Gilui allow, which is above both. That's the Mechaber the Yud with the Hey. Yeah. In the Mikdash Malach explains in the name of Rabbi Chaim Vital that Kreitzer Tachten is not Bina, it's Das, and Das is Mechaber Chochmah and Bina. In other places in Chassidus it says that Das connects Chochmah and Bina, because Das is the Shlishi, right? There's right, left, center. Das is the Shlishi that binds 1 and 2. Das is the Tiferes. It's the same line, the middle line. So some places it says Kreitzer Shel Yud, same thing basically. The Kreitzer Shel Yud is on top of the Yud, which is also above both. Or Das, either way, but both ways, is what the third level connects the Chochmah and Bina together. So in other words, in order for the Yesh to be able to become Ayin, even though L'chayra Yesh and Ayin are mamish opposites, so it works both ways. For Hashem to make from Ayin Yesh, there had to be the Ayin. But in order to make from the Ayin Yesh, meaning from that level of Elokus, which is so limited, nothing compared to the infinite level of Hashem, that's why it's called Ayin. But in order for Hashem to make Ayin to Yesh, therefore it has to come from Atzmus Ein Sof, from the essence of Hashem. And then down here, when we connect the Yesh back to the Ayin, we make the Yesh back into the Ayin, that also comes from a level of Matan Torah Nechi, which is a higher force which connects Ruchnis and Gashmis. So in other words, there was a higher revelation of the essence that allowed Yesh Mi Ayin to exist, and there has to be a higher essential Gilui when a Jew does a mitzvah to make the Yesh back into the Ayin.
Both sides.
Yeah. Which means in simple English, when a Jew does a little tiny mitzvah, they're revealing the essence of Hashem that's connecting the Yesh and the Ayin. That's why the Rebbe Rashab writes, Kol ha-mitzvahs misyachsim elo atzmus. All mitzvahs are identified and connected to the essence. Because in order for a mitzvah to have the power to connect Gashmi and Ruchni, it has to come from the essence which is above both. And if you think for 1 minute, I know what in the world I'm talking about, I don't. I don't have the faintest idea.
This means that if somebody is not doing this much, as far as Ruchniut is concerned, it doesn't exist?
Ruchnis and Gashmis and Gashmis. They're not connected. You have to connect the dots.
No, but he doesn't have the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to connect.
Correct. He's not connected to Hashem.
So he doesn't exist.
He exists plenty.
Is that somebody who's not in the